Hello, everybody. Welcome to the April 2nd, 2019 episode edition. I don't know, what do you call it? Installment? What is a word for what we are here? Gathering. There you go. See, a room of poets. I figured someone could come up with a word. Gathering of Recite. This is a very fun thing. It's been a good 2.5 years that we've been doing this, I think. 2.5? Something like that?
Longer.
3.5?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow. We're awesome, aren't we? Yeah. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Macy from WCTV8 for faithfully filming this every single time and then putting it up on his website, WCTV8.com, which is an awesome thing. And then it also is on the local TV station. I've had people come up to me and say, "Hey, Janelle, you were on TV last night." I said, "What are you talking about?" But I don't say that anymore because now I know it's this thing that they do. So like for 1 week a month, that month's Recite will be on TV. So it'll, be a whole different crowd will be exposed to it who isn't normally, which is kind of fun. And it's really fun to see so many people here tonight. This is awesome. I think I have you all on the list. Another fun thing that Macy reminded me of, that Macy has been involved with planning with the library administration and a group of people, is that next month when you come here, this room will be more sophisticated than it is now. We're going to have a drop-down, it's going to be more set up for programs and things. So we're going to have a drop-down screen, we're going to have a projector hooked to the ceiling, we're going to have quad surround sound something or other, and probably other lovely things that I don't know what they are yet. But the electrician is actually coming tomorrow to start to wire the place. So by next month, it's going to be all sorts of stuff going on here. And hopefully by next month, I'll be able to tell you what they are. Yes, sir, you have a question.
So possibly, if we got carried away, we could sync background images with our poetic recitations, readings, whatever.
I imagine that's technically true. So you can research that for us. No. So when the equipment gets installed, working here, hopefully I'll have some knowledge of the equipment and what we do. And then, yes, it could be something that people could, we'll figure that out as time goes on. But this room is going to be set up for more sophisticated programming. In thanks part to WCTV8 is helping to fund it, and other groups.
Rotary.
It's
the Friends of the Library.
The Friends of the Library.
It's the classes. What's the group that puts
the Learning Lab.
Learning Lab. Right.
Yeah. So a lot of groups are coming together to make this thing happen, which is awesome. Okay, so there we go. I am going to read one little poem just to get us started. And this is a poem that I read once a long time ago, and I loved it. And then I couldn't find the darn thing again, and I kept looking, and it's like I thought there's a bear in it, so I kept looking for bear. It's a Mary Oliver poem, and Mary Oliver has a whole lot of poems about bears. And the word bear actually doesn't appear in this poem at all, so I never found it. But I finally found the poem. And so I want to read it, and I think it's actually a nice poem for this time of year when, beginning to be spring and things coming to life and all sorts of things. The poem is called The Family. The Family by Mary Oliver. The dark things of the wood are coming from their caves, flexing muscle. They browse the orchard, nibble the sea of grasses around our yellow rooms, scarcely looking in to see what we are doing and if they still know us. We hear them, or think we do. The muzzle lapping moonlight, the tooth in the apple. Put another log on the fire, Mozart again on the turntable. Still there is a sorrow with us in the room. We remember the cave. In our dreams we go back, or they come to visit. They also like music. We eat leaves together. They are our brothers. They are the family we have run away from. Okay. We have 11 people on our list for tonight, which is really awesome. So we'll do about half, and then we'll take a little break, and then we'll do the other half. And it looks like there's a couple people who have things up here that you could maybe purchase, I think. And let's see, Gaze is going to have a reading here at the library on April 18th up on the mezzanine, because he has a few new books out. He's been busy, and he's going to come share it. And so that's an awesome thing. Does anyone else have any events coming up that...
At Lucky's Coffee Garage in Lebanon, we're going to do a kind of a lit-focused night from 6 to 9, April 27th, and there'll be an open mic portion to that.
Oh, nice.
So if someone wanted to bring something, it doesn't have to be poetry. Yeah, so April 27th, it's a Saturday.
April 27th is Saturday at Lucky's Coffee Shop in Lebanon.
Yeah, it's on the green.
And it's a lit-focused, sort of open mic-ish kind of
Yeah,
event
and
thing.
it's a soft opening for trying out some evening food, so it's
nice.
gonna be interesting. So
Yeah.
it may be a bit shaky, but we're gonna give it a try.
The hours
Okay.
again?
What's that?
The hours?
6 to 9. I would
6
think
to
that
9.
I would probably go at 6 because there's only capacity for 60 people, and we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It might not be-
you work there, right? You're part of that.
Yeah, I work there, and so
Yeah.
I'm helping to co-create this event.
Yeah, nice. Cool. Awesome. Okay, so that's the 27th, and then yours is the 18th.
Yes, I'm also reading in Montpelier at Home City on the day before, the 17th, with Peter Fox, as read here.
Oh, yes. Right. Okay. Macy, you got that, or should I say it all again? You got that? Okay, all right. Oh, there's more. So, Pam?
I'll be reading up in Morrisville at River City Arts on Friday night of this week at 6.
Friday the 5th at 6
Yes.
in Morrisville
At the River Arts.
At the River Arts
Yes.
Center.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Good. And Laura, this is an awesome crowd.
It's April, Poetry Month.
Yes, it is. Oh, that's right. That's what. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, so there's an opening for a book called Healing the Divide, Poems of Kindness, which I have a poem in that collection, so I'll
Yes.
be participating in a reading at Bear Pond Books
In Montpelier.
Montpelier
Yeah.
on Tuesday the 16th,
Tuesday the 16th.
I think 7.
At 7 p.m. at Bear Pond Books in Montpelier. And it'll be several people from...
Yes, I think about 5 of us will be reading, including
Nice.
James Cruz, who is the editor, Vermont poet, who is also the editor of the collection.
Okay, awesome, good. This is great. Okay, awesome. Okay, and here tonight, our first poet is going to be Bob Burgess.
Why is that man smiling?
It's like him up.
That can't be it. There's
It's a
bad,
trap.
bad stuff is coming. So I got to tell you, probably much to no one's surprise, that yesterday was my birthday.
April 1st.
And I now be an even older April Fool. So I got some nice little quaint shorties here, some of which you may remember that I read a long time ago, and some not so nice others that I just was writing today and kept revising, and it's really rough. And then the printer broke, and all the usual crap that commemorates such a foolish occasion. So this is kind of it. So please bear with me if they be a little rough around the edges, this thing says I wrote. Like what else is new? I've called this Lament of the Lazy Poet. How do I find the words to speak the unspeakable? to attach to things that are beyond all words, sounds that break the bounds of all self-consciousness, breathing fresh air into the vacuum of our closed lives, trying to touch impossibly love and life itself. 'Tis much too much for any one man, much less an old fool like me, who can barely scratch out a few more lines of my same old puerile poetry. Nevertheless, I'll continue. Once upon a time, long, long ago, when I was very, very young, I thought I'd grow up, be a great big hero, knight in shining armor, conquering the world of my dreams. But something happened along the way. I got lost in the endless day-to-day until they checked my expiration date, how much shelf life I had left. How the hell did I get this old without even knowing it? You know, it was certainly something I intended to postpone till way, way later. Oops. So, let's end this all with what I've called, appropriately, Macy would certainly agree, having heard most of my offerings already, Diary of an Old April Fool, with some references to W.B. Yeats. So, I'm getting real tired of playing make-believe, of being careful, watching what I say. If everybody in all the groups like me, if everything's okay, thinking all the time, meditating my life away. I'm getting real tired of playing nice, being told by holier-than-thou spiritual types, wake up and smell the flowers, as if such existential evanescent exercises equal the bottomless sorrows of this life, inevitable share of pains, loss, and suffering, to say nothing of man's endless affinity for cruelty, the unfairness that oft chance and destiny wreak on all the innocent newborn children that once inhabited us all. I'm getting real tired of feeling afraid and saying nothing while all those innocents who just happened to look different from me are maligned, slaughtered before my eyes, as I will be if I dare sing this song in front of the lily-white crowd, cheering in glee. And I'm getting real tired of containing this primal rage. For as long as my sweet soul can recall, as most all would understand and agree, if we could only let ourselves dare remember what exactly it is somewhere in the sands of our forgotten desert that we are running away from so hard and so fast to flee. Unless you be one of the very fortunate few lucky enough to be born into the proverbial perfect, loving family. But that ain't me, babe. And I ain't playing this game anymore. Time's running out. The rough beast will out. Let the real fun and games begin. Oh, come on now. Jump off now, old man. Let go of the bloody rope that's holding you in. Let life to death swing. Sink or swim. Free fall. Just let it be. Finally, lose ourselves. Perpetual eternity. It is time to see. Bye-bye, Blackbird. Thanks for listening.
Thanks. Now you can rest. Also, we have the book here, if anyone wants to sign the book this week. It'd be awesome if everyone wanted to sign the book this week. There's not a pen with it, so I don't know what we'll do about that. But it's a nice little thing about, nice little record of what happens at this gathering every month. Thank you, Bob. So next, Peg Brightman, would you like to go next?
Why not?
Okay. All right.
The weaving. Only after they have left us, those towering gods of domesticity, can we grasp some inkling of their immensity. Their rocking became our heartbeat. Their songs became our music. Their hands taught our hands how to tie our shoes. Their words became our thoughts. We saw the world through their eyes. They showed us what, who, how to love. In absence, they keep on teaching us. It takes a lifetime of studying this garment, puzzling through the warp and weft of stitches to figure out what is me, what is them, what is mine, ours. An old poem for me. 2016 seems old to me. Primavera comes. Lightly she descends. Her feet move toward us over the crest of the Vermont hills. In her footsteps spring vernal pools. In her hair are golden willow twigs, tangled goldfinches with black-barred wings fluttering. As she passes, her breath breathes early violets and crushed grass mixed with notes of wood smoke and diesel. She skirts the dusty tractor tilting down by the brook. The hem of her garment trails tin cans and gum wrappers. At night, the peepers sing her coming in diminishing chorus, harmonizing with a faint police siren from the next valley. Stars are her sprinkled diadem, Milky Way flowing slow as time through black cutouts of trees outshone by streetlights. Tattered, rain-blown, discouraged, still she comes to us, arms scattering lilacs. And, okay, one more for the season again. River music. Look out the window, past the computer screen, printer, piles of paper, past the blue shadowed snowbank, past the watchful hemlocks to the still snow-covered lake, the far hills rising beyond. Hear the sound of the long winter breaking, the cracking of ice in the White River as snow melt trickles and streams toward the valley floor where the crumpled cattails hide in their dry brown stalks. Buds on the birches swell, and a rose gold shimmer vibrates outstretched branches like plucking strings. A bird begins his staccato spring song. Somewhere out there, the hidden river begins making music on her stones.
Thanks, Peg. All right, let's see. Cory, would you like to go next? Cory Cook.
All right, I'm going to read two short ones. The first one is Spring. A bleeding gray cloud of oily, kinky wool hovers in a corner. He kneels in the hay and shit, studying the puckered, perfumey rear end. The U concludes each contraction with a hoarse afterword. No lamb spills from the womb, so he reaches in and searches for the collection of limbs. The muscles in his arm tighten, and he pulls his fist out. A liquid sack which suffocates a pliant lamb bursts on the barn floor. He swipes matter out of the lamb's mouth. The lungs expand, and it jerks its wedge of a head, trying to hack through the haze to mother's udders. Okay. All right, July 4th. You tell me you are leaving for good this time. Pull each car seat from the back of your sedan, line them up by the stone wall, toss your house key onto the bristly welcome mat, drive away slowly as our kids hang from the monkey bars like solemn flags. All right, thank you.
so I hadn't thought of who should be next yet. So are those in published books of poetry that you
Yes. Yeah, the last one I read is in the new book that came out in January.
Oh, nice. Do you sell your books ever? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd be happy to bring some next time.
Okay. Yeah, anyone can bring their stuff if they want to, or yeah, I don't know if
They're
thinking
they're
out-
also available online.
Oh, okay.
That one's available through Finishing Line Press and on Amazon as
Okay.
well.
so we should have
The title of
some.
the book is-
The Weight of Shadows.
We should have a database or something of everyone's stuff because it's really cool.
Dana,
Yes.
I also have been making sure that Yankee Bookshop has books,
Okay, good.
just as a way to support a local
Yes.
business.
Yes. Right.
So
Yes.
maybe if we all did that.
Yeah. Yeah. And Yankee Books is.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're good. They're good people.
I have some at Norwich Bookstore.
Okay. Let's see. Anne Schaffmaster, would you like to go next? Okay. Thank you.
I'm reading 2 poems, and this first one is called Dazzle. The man has been here before, seems hungover. I want to ask, why do you drink? But as he changes the air filter, fuel filter, and spark plugs on my generator, his hands shake, and I don't know how to be human. What if I were him and he were me? What if he was a neighbor, my ex-husband, my son? Like the dazzle of the too bright sun, the confusion blinds me. But the snow we stand in on this cold winter day is so deep, it has gone over the top of my boots and wet through my socks, causing a different kind of discomfort, one I can deal with. This next poem is called Ligature. There is chaos as the horses in the barn await the fire that will kill them all, each one in its own stall, each head drawn down low. Alfalfa hay spread here and there, a piece of baling wire, a garrote trampled under shoeless hoofs of nervous fear. The desire to run scared is here. The barn cats sleep like listless angels atop the musty bales, high up in the hayloft, felt furry things, predators of mice, Captain Nemo, Orange Ruffy, Vera and Bradley, and a nameless stray. The little donkey licks his salt and tosses his head about to prove his usefulness, though there is none. He nuzzles the dry sawdust for a carrot or piece of apple, then bangs the black rubber bucket hanging on the wooden wall, emptied of food, back and forth, like a pendulum. In the tack room, saddles and bridles, liniments and hoof picks, and from the bank, a calendar of old convertibles line up in a row. No wool gathering or urgency, just another long cold night in the stillness of an old farm. Standing outside, a man looks across the fields, then flicks a lit cigarette. The coyote lining the barbed wire fence converge, but do not trespass. The man is too much less and not enough. The regimen of marriage is for him a passage of dullness and sorrow. Bud Light is his flashlight in the dark. The fusillade of heat sears the hides and breaks apart the rafters that hold the metal roof in place. The wife, the loyal equestrian, calls 911 from the house. Her skill with a ligature of chains suffocates, yet does not kill the one who continues to share her bed, but does not ease her pain. Thank you.
Thanks. Geza, would you like to go next? Geza Totrage.
Hello. Danelle was kind enough to mention the event here on the 18th, and I have 3 new books out. One in February, which is a thriller called Rainbow Vintner. It's a thriller set in France. We lived there. I was writing it then for a few years, and it's a fun international political thriller which involves a lovely Californian exchange student who ends up deciphering whether a series of bombings are jihadist terrorism or a far right-wing movement to overthrow the government. The second book I have out just came out in March, and it's called The Fencers. It's a true story, a memoir about a Romanian-Hungarian fencer I helped defect at the 1976 Montreal Olympics. I helped him defect to Canada. I represented Canada there in fencing as well, so we were good friends by then. So it's a true story. It's a fun, gripping story. The third book will be a new collection of poems called Extinction. I don't have a copy of it yet. It's just being published in 4 days' time, so hopefully I'll have it for then. But I'll be reading some poems from that collection, so I'll compensate that way. Marcia, my wife, and I spent much of the winter in California. We have 2 grandsons in San Francisco, and when we were living there, we were exposed to these horrendous smoky air and from the fires up north in Paradise, California. You may have heard of those. So to commemorate that terrible event, and especially what people had to go through, I wrote this little poem. It's called Paradise, California. Paradise, California. Hellfires rage out of control. The wind whips flames from tree to tree, from bush to bush, from house to house, spreading the scorching inferno, its poisonous smoke far and wide. The fire consumes all in its path. Homes, towns turn to ash and rubble. Trucks and cars melt into liquid. Humans and animals dissolve in fractions of nanoseconds into oxygen and carbon, some hydrogen and nitrogen, and a few other elements. Toxic fumes float over countries, making mere breathing difficult, contaminating and killing the living things they penetrate. We also went down to Palm Springs and Palm Desert and went hiking there. And in the path there was a dead coyote, so afterwards I wrote this little poem called The Dead Coyote, Hiking in the Desert. Packing the Pushawalla Trail across the path in the hot sun, we stumbled on the dead coyote. A shot had ripped through its stomach. Then some vermin gutted the beast, now rotting, though fur still fluffy, redolent of fading splendor. This once warm, sentient being hunts the forests and fields no more. What callous thug killed it and why? Another one of my beastie poems, as I call them, this is more lighthearted. It's called A Cockroach Winked at Me. A cockroach winked at me from the closet corner, brazenly taunting the prejudiced human me. As the beast darted under the soiled laundry pile, wild with frenzy, I lifted high a much-scuffed shoe, wanting to crush that pestilent, cocky creature. I threw aside the mountain of grubby garments, and, like Khrushchev banging his desk at the UN, in the twilight depth of my disordered wardrobe, blindly bashed away at visions of the beetle. But the insect escaped, scuttling under the boards, crusty carapace and gangly legs still intact, to sneak back and goad my ire yet another day. A poem called Beauty. The morning mist frosting the fen, the sunset glow crowning the hills, the waking song of the wood thrush, the moan of the loon by the moon, the pink peony in your garden, the rusted leaves of the fall forest, a monarch fluttering its wings, a deer dashing across the yard, the air after a spring shower, the waft of my freshly baked bread, the taste of a just picked cherry, or a sip of Chateau Petrus, the 6 sublime Bach cello suites, the magic of Mona Lisa, frost reading The Road Not Taken, the healthy cry of a newborn. Your eyes, my love, your lips, your hands, your curves, your thighs, your whole being. Two more poems. Falling. I stand on the edge of the precipice, look down the rocky face into the void, far below the verdant valley calling. Like a long jumper, I propel myself outward into thin air, flailing, kicking, then I plummet. The body accelerates, tucked toward extinction by gravity. I gasp for breath as existence speeds by, an entire lifetime of blistering pain concentrated in the flash of impact as consciousness is smashed to smithereens, and I am no longer of the living. And last, I'll read a poem, another one that goes into extinction. It's called When I Die. When I die, who will grieve for me? Who will shed tears when the bell tolls? When I'm no longer conscious, no longer feeling and loving, will you, dear, kiss me one last time, hold my ice-cold hand to your heart? And when my body turns to ashes or decays, devoured by maggots, how long, love, before you forget my face, my voice, my touch, my laugh? When you walk through the fall forest, swim in our pond below the falls, will you remember our delight during such sunny summer days? And when you lie alone at night or naked in another's arms, will you still evoke our great love, the ecstasy of our coupling? When our children come from afar, over dinner and lots of wine, will you smile as you reminisce about my quirks, faults, and foibles? When you play with our children, our grandchildren, sing them a song, kiss them goodnight, will you gently remind them, dear, that I love them with all my heart? And as you read these my poems, my cello's tears sotto voce, will you try hard to remember the joy of our life together? For there will be no more of me, only what is left in your heart. So those are poems from the upcoming volume, and I have some copies of these too, if anybody would like. Thank you.
Let's see, let's do one more before the break. Richard, would you like to go? Let's see. And we need some more, we need another chair. You want us to bring in another chair for you? This one's empty.
We have one on the aisle. Be good.
The first poem tonight is by Robert Frost, A Considerable Speck. Let's see. I'm having a moment of forgetfulness, but a speck that would have been beneath my sight on any but a paper sheet so white set off across what I had written there, and I had idly poised my pen in air to stop it with a period of ink, when something strange about it made me think this was no dust speck by my breathing blown, but unmistakably a living mite with inclinations it could call its own. It paused as with suspicion of my pen, and then came racing wildly on again to where my manuscript was not yet dry. It paused again, and either drank or smelt with loathing, for again it turned to fly, plainly with an intelligence I dealt. It seemed too tiny to have room for feet, yet it must have had a set of them complete to express how much it didn't want to die. It ran with terror and with cunning crept. It faltered. I could see it hesitate, and then in the middle of the open sheet, cower down in desperation to accept whatever I accorded it of fate. I have none of the tender than thou, collectivistic, regimenting love with which the modern world is being swept. But this poor microscopic item now, since it was nothing I knew evil of, I let it lie there till I hope it slept. I have a mind myself and recognize mine when I meet with it in any guise. No one can know how glad I am to find on any sheet the least display of mine. And of course, that's about reading other people's poems. Then I've been working on trying to memorize a few poems, and then I came across a poem by Billy Collins talking about memorizing one of John Donne's poems. So I'm going to read the John Donne poem first, and then I'm going to read the poem that Billy Collins wrote about trying to memorize it, or the process of memorization. So this is the John Donne poem, The Sun Rising. Busy old fool, unruly sun, what dost thou thus through windows and through curtains call on us? Must to thy motions lovers' seasons run? Saucy pedantic wretch, go chide late schoolboys and sour prentices. Go tell court's huntsman that the king will ride. Call country ants to harvest offices. Love all alike, no season knows, nor clime, nor hours, days, months, which are the rags of time. Thy beam so reverend and strong, why shouldest thou think I could eclipse and cloud them with a wink? But that I would not lose her sight so long, if her eyes have not blinded thine. Look, and tomorrow late tell me whether both the Indies of spice and mine be where thou leftest them, or lie here with me. As for those kings whom thou sawest yesterday, and thou shalt hear, and all here in one bed lay. She's all states and all princes I, nothing else is. Princes do but play us, compared to this, all honors mimic, all wealth alchemy. Thou, son, art half as happy as we, in that the world's contracted thus. Thine age asks ease, and since thy duties be to warm the world, that's done in warming us. Shine here to us, and thou art everywhere. This bed thy center is, these walls thy sphere. And now here's Billy Collins' poem talking about memorizing. And I think you'll like the imagery of memorizing. Memorizing the Sun Rising by John Donne. Every reader loves the way he tells off the sun, shouting, busy old fool, into the English skies, even though they were likely cloudy on that 17th century morning. And it's a pleasure to spend this sunny day pacing the carpet and repeating the words, feeling the syllables lock into rows until I can stand and declare, the book held closed by my side, that hours, days, and months are but the rags of time. But after a few steps into stanza number 2, wherein the sun is blinded by his mistress's eyes, I can feel that the first one begins to fade, like sky-written letters on a windy day. And by the time I have taken in the third, the second is likewise gone, a blown-out candle now, a wavering line of acrid smoke. So it's not until I leave the house and walk 3 times around this hidden lake that the poem begins to show any interest in walking by my side. Then, after my circling, better than the courteous dominion of her being all states and him all princes, better than love's power to shrink the wide world to the size of a bedchamber, and better even than the compression of all that into the rooms of 3 stanzas, is how, after hours stepping up and down the poem, testing the plank of every line, it goes with me now, contracted into a little spot within. When you got that, you know you've memorized the poem. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Alrighty, so how about we take a short little break? Let's see, it's 6:30, so at about 6:40 we'll come back and then we'll do everything else. Laura, would you like to start the second half for us when it comes? Okay, all right, we'll do that. Good plan. And sign the book if you like. Okay. Okay, welcome back, everybody. So to start our second half, let's see, is there anything we should talk about before we start again? I don't think so. I think we covered most everything.
Life, death, and all the rest.
Well, that's what happens in the poetry.
Oh, we did that.
Yeah, like it's like that's what you people are doing with all these things. And speaking of life, death, and all the rest, Laura Foley.
Yes, right. This one is.
It wasn't meant to be negative in any way.
This one is about bees.
Okay.
Of 30,000. I look into the hive to greet my bees after the long winter freeze and see them caught in media res, heads burrowed in their own sweetness, their house turned tomb. I admire their industry, all they've done in the month since I last looked in, the reproducing, the honey making that kept them alive until, well, just last week I heard them buzzing and busy. Today, the hive is silent as Pompeii after the ash, but no hot lava, no earthquake for them, just the silent grip of northern cold. I poke with a stick, wish for one to rise and whir its golden striped body in new spring sun. Just one, but none. Everyone to her is family. The garbage man is Santa. The nice lady who bends down to say hello, to ask her name, is my wife, Clara. She confirms, that was Clara. Then points to others we pass as we walk. The bearded man is Uncle Billy. The rosy-cheeked woman, Aunt Lorraine. When I leave, will she see Grandma too? All the time, her parents tell me, and she wonders why I never stop to say hello. That's my granddaughter. Dear Skeleton, that's spelled D-E-E-R. Dear Skeleton, I saw one by the side of the road intact and didn't stop to wonder where the flesh had gone, why just a tuft of fur was left, a bit of tail. Didn't pause to ponder its change from leaping warmth to cold, clean bones. Didn't stop, but glimpsed crisp, dark lines against the sky, rib cage, torso, perfect spine. What we, with mounded dirt, neat lawn and flowered stones, seek so hard to hide. I drove on quickly by. I've just come back from a trip to the West Coast, and this poem is from today. Here, I have seen the country from above, the large, dark lakes with winding shores, Rockies thick with fresh new snow, valleys with their orange shapes of ancient stone, the deepest canyons of the earth. Now home, on a hill above our house, there rises in my mind the cactus plant that tried to keep me with its thorns. Coyotes that woke us with their strange, sad song, the hare with long, translucent ears that crept beneath a bush, a Mars-like landscape where we climbed wild poppies blooming in a field. As I sit in snow, a breezy day in spring, maples festooned with ice, my mind is filled with desert. Yet, because I sit alone and listen to the wind in leafless trees, though my shoes still hold some grains of sand and cactus thorns, I know this hill is where I am.
Thanks, Laura. All right, so next we have Gavin. Okay, Gavin Wincoop Fisher.
Hello. So I have to do a poem that I wrote in Italy because my aunt Tracy wanted to hear it again sometime. And here she is. So this poem has some Italian interwoven in it. I'm not very good at Italian, and hopefully the accent's okay. But è possibile? Is it maybe a question of anatomy? Questo attira I ragazzi to swing imagined swords, make war without trembling. Stabile, ragazzi, stabile. And they stay conquering all the wrong things, quickly learning paper bravery, stone slings, cutting deeply, forbici e rassoi, ragazzi veloci, all volume and no voice, your choice. Vedi, capisci? La scelta è un cesello. There's an edge to everything. Tuo corpo e la mano. Is yours killing or creating? And those last two lines is La scelta è uno cesello means choice is a chisel. And tuo corpo e la mano is your body is the hand. Oh, anyway. Yeah, I like that one. I have another one that's Ragazzi is boys as well. So this is a poem about choice and young men. I have another poem that's my most recent one, and it sort of deals with regrets and manhood, I suppose. Or something along those lines. The strong boy tree could have stood sturdy for so many more years. Proud eastern hemlock, yet uncorroded by woolly invaders, instead pissed to death, tormented by hurled blades and fire, sickened by summers of clamoring flames, hollowed out on hallowed ground, not into a worthy craft, but soul-gutted by untrained hands, the mandibles of firelit creatures clamoring for manhood. The years passed in winters, and when the hemlock was severed, we pissed on its stump, and when the robin built her nest in the bathroom instead, the call came down. 3 little birds to be dispatched ASAP. We plied our care and crafts to relocate the nest to a nearby home. Her heart was broken before they were silenced by the cold. My heart was broken watching her come so close and still never hearing her hungry children. We buried the little birds a hatchet's throw from the sullied roots of our toxic rituals. Our leader made a cross of bones and petroleum, and we worshipped it all summer. Before the darkest night, before my lowest treason, they were just baby birds. It was just a dumb symbol. Now those birds have become my innocence, and the bone cross guards the grave. I got a couple more. Thank you very much. I'm gonna do 2 more. I've got 2 spring ones. One's happy, one's sad. Probably some of you that have been here have heard probably both of them. This is a sad one. Yesterday, I passed that ditch down the road, the one where I fell and we lay, where I found 2 spent .357 shells empty as love-drunk promises, and I pocketed the star-crossed cartridges. I severed a twig of tiny flowers and pressed them unceremoniously into your hands. They died for nothing. I noted my first robin of the not quite spring, a silhouette against a sky of pure gray. He studied the dying day, the color of voluntary sadness. And no early bird, he rocked that old black line ever so slightly, and I thought of her, and the way that spring seemed to tumble in tethered to the back of her gone gray sneakers, and I'd just fall into pieces amongst uncommitted sunbeams, premature crocuses, and eager daffodils. I lost so much sleep in 2 weeks. Maybe I'm still trying to catch those Z's. And suddenly the snow returned, terrible and wonderful. And the flowers shivered in their beds, and the shine ran down from the bowed backs of the branches and the crooked creases of my mind. And I just can't stop repeating that stupid shit I spewed about putting yellow roses on your grave. Or this image replayed of tiny purple petals crushed carelessly by my boots beneath red mud and mulch and melting snow. Yeah, so this is the happy one, or happier. And I think I read this one last time, but I've got it here now, so. We are well above freezing today, and I feel everything moving again. The blood through my veins filling my body with hot oxygen potential. And the words stir in their capillaries, racing for that trephination like the first sweet sap of springtime. To be sipped and considered in these cold, broken mornings when old hills scattered with varicose veins soften and loosen into gravel wash in this stranger warmth. The fluffed bedding of banks is evaporating, erasing layers like ranks of ghosts surrendering to springtime's battle lines. And each lays himself on this glacier-grazed land, so many unmarked graves of unsung snowmen. And they'll put away their icicle bayonets and forgive the frost that formed about the first fragile flakes of their cold-blooded hearts. And spring will have them all. See worries turn to whispers when we are hovering well above frozen, and the final frigid figures creep deeper into the north face shadows as dreams of June begin to rise and bloom. And winter's wounded soldiers lay gray, collapsing further into themselves, losing ground by the roadside, losing face and form, losing steam, so to speak, and each little vaporous exhale is an echo of my own exclamations, the defrosted words of elated escapism, a quiet chorus in graceful defeat, the designs of degrees releasing their structures and shackles, to be again as one, to be again everywhere at once and leave behind only the memories of another frigid form or occupation, in the gray and grime of their collected freckles, angel-kissed grit drying in the sun, shining amongst the dirt, the grace of the commonplace like the easily missed miracle of forgiveness, like permission given to live again. We are hovering well above frozen and somehow finding balance in a steadily unstable world. Thank you.
Okay, we have 3 more people. So next we have Yash Dembinski.
Sure. I've thought about you a lot. I'm glad to be back. Here's a poem. It's another Rilke sonnet, and that's been wonderful to have it with me for these 2 months. And I want to alert you to really savor or just wait as you're listening to it for the last sentence, because it's such a beautiful truth. Hail to the spirit that can unite us, for we do truly live in figures. And with little steps, the clocks go on alongside our essential day. Without knowing our true place, we act out of real relationship. Antenna, sense, antenna, and the empty distance bore pure tension. Oh, music of the forces, are not all disturbances deflected from you by our casual occupations? No matter, I wonder if I forgot a verse in there. It's been a while. Let's see. Hold on. I can do mental gymnastics here. Antenna. No. Okay, good. So, where are we? Deflected from you by our casual occupations. No matter that the farmer works and worries his seed turning into summer that he never reaches, the earth bestows. Thanks. All right. I would like now to present a chapter from the work I'm continuing to revise, and I have asked Danelle, and Danelle has asked Gavin to help me out here. So I will read, and Danelle is going to just to let you, don't be too excited. Danelle's going to read Moses, and Gavin is going to read Aaron.
Do you want us up there, or do you want us to stay here?
What do you think?
It's your time. It's your thing.
What do you think?
Yes. Up
Yes.
there so we can hear it.
Up here.
Record better.
Oh, yeah. So come on up. And this is just great. Thank you. It's not too long. All right. Chapter 7.
Chapter 7. And how will you be known?
Aaron wondered aloud.
Moses will remind Pharaoh of your royal mother.
No, I sundered my name when I left Egypt, and I know it was the Lord's will to do so. Only from I am I drawn, from God unknown to the Egyptians, and, Aaron, truly, I have been drawn anew.
Moses' eyes shone as he lifted his gaze to the bright stars shimmering over the desert in vast multitude. They sat beside a campfire's flames. They had come near Goshen. In days past, Aaron had grown fretful. Particulars of Pharaoh and his court had him downcast.
When the Lord spoke through the burning bush, years of ignorance fell away.
The past was present as Moses tried to disclose the inner depth of his experience before the burning bush.
God, our Lord, knows all of ourselves. In his benevolence, he cloaks his omniscience. Now I know this, as you and I, as we know we can speak. Such was the light within the light of his presence.
Aaron listened. He felt both meek and strengthened, imagining the burning bush and the voice of the Lord. Moses was speaking to Aaron, but he was yearning. Aaron could hear it, to hear God's voice as he had heard it, as love.
But, my brother,
Moses came out of his near trance.
you have more you want to tell me.
Yes, another concern I have. Yes, you will need to shave your hair and beard, as no one is allowed to plead before Pharaoh when enthroned who is not clean shaven.
Moses laughed aloud. Aaron did not take to his mirth.
As true as that may be,
Moses spoke soon after.
I will not cut one hair from my head.
He saw Aaron did not fathom his laughter.
Your reasoning revolves round Pharaoh. We are wheels on a far different axle, the word of the Lord.
Then Moses waited, hoping his brother would see.
Your exile
Aaron hoped Moses had contemplated how they would approach Pharaoh.
has been long, and
One wheel cannot turn on two wagons, Aaron. We will approach Pharaoh, and wrong in his eyes we will be in our fashions and in our words. But we will speak our word, the word of the Lord. You must not fail me, but you will if you do not fear the Lord more than this Pharaoh.
Moses rose and he turned away. His face was set steadfastly with gaze afar. The mountains were afar, the clouds, the sun. Pharaoh was afar.
We know the Lord here. Here.
Moses, not to spar, turned and pointed to his heart. Aaron could sense the strength of simple sincerity in the gesture, in his eyes. Oh, how could he be so ignorant? Authority in Egypt was a whipping post, not with Yahweh. Aaron felt touched by a pure light, instantaneous, momentary. Faith he had then in abundance, and his sight had been opened to the reality of eternal love. He felt in his heart Moses' resolve and his authority that seemed one with nature. He could not part, he knew, from his brother or from the words of God given to Moses so fully.
I am foolish to fear Pharaoh or lords of Egypt. You have heard the Lord speak. We are descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We cannot fail. Abraham sojourned in Egypt at his peril. Back he returned, and so will we. Elohim.
Moses was intrigued by Aaron's sudden change of mood. Could he process so swiftly?
We will need to pack up shortly here then. And the pack animals are ready?
We will speak God's words to Pharaoh.
Aaron rose. He put a hand on his brother's shoulder.
And I will gladly serve you. The Lord chose you to deliver his words. I shudder not to deliver yours.
Then he added,
It surely must be our deliverance, Abraham's promise. It has not faded in our people's hearts, and its assurance has given to our tribes the strength to bear the most onerous hardships. We have been blessed, yes, both of us. and all of our care must be for their deliverance.
Unseen thoughts flickered through both of the brothers' eyes, and they parted unto prayer and to rest. Each being grateful, the other was wise, each yearning with the Lord's grace to be blessed.
So you gotta do more stuff now. Okay. Alrighty. So Jennifer Grant. Thanks.
I grew up in Ackworth, New Hampshire, which is a hill town. Sorry, I'll speak up a little. I grew up in Ackworth, New Hampshire, which is a hill town. So there's part of the town that's on the hill and part that's in the valley. And there's reference to that in this poem, which I wrote in 2007. And in that year, we lost 2 patriarchs in my town and my hometown. And this poem is a reflection of that and sort of what they symbolized in the town. Are you still having trouble hearing me?
Well, I'll just do this to help myself.
Okay. All right. Echo of Integrity. Jennifer Grant, copyright 2007. It's quiet in the valley and quiet on the hill. Now hands once never idle, here at last are still. As nature's fiercest blow brings down the strongest oak, so too the wrath of age can fell the strongest folk. In a world at times bereft of husbands, fathers, men, which one can show young boys, admonish, be like them. So rare we find the men who live exemplary lives, who maintain family devotion to their children and their wives. We know good men are scarce, rejoice when we have found men who earn the trust of the sharers of the town, those who prize respect far higher than renown. Some men force change with power, some with strife or war, but who leads by example, his impact matters more. Who fulfills his civic duty and lives by word of faith, erases any line between the person and the place. It may seem that times have changed, their paths no longer trod, now when their souls have risen to be at peace with God, but their footprints have not vanished, and their spirit lingers still. For the bonds which reach past kinship remain their lasting will. When neighbor lends hand to neighbor, and the townsfolk share goodwill, let each one do his part for community until you can hear their memory echo from the valley to the hill.
Thanks, Jennifer. I think it's really interesting the themes that weave through an evening of this poetry. There really are themes that the seasons or karma or whatever. We have one more poet to close out the evening for us, Pamela Harrison.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here. It's such a beautiful library. It's a real pleasure to have your voice in this lovely wooden room. I'm going to read 3 mud season poems. It needs some celebration. Mud season. Now all the roads are pitted with potholes, mired in mud. For months we've argued about what brought us here and what confusion keeps us. Lonely misfit, you settled for tinkering at home, longing for a community of fellows, dreaming still a heaven might be made on earth. I don't believe in heaven anymore. I need some answering look from the land and good friends to share our troubles with. Words lead me now another way, a path toward the particular. I want to know what's real. Peel expectation from my eyes, see things straight and name them. I want to know the woman I've become. I hunger for the differences between us, the room they offer us for change. Not anymore what you once were, and not what I would have you be. You there, smelling of applewood smoke and boiling sap, up to your knees in melting snow. I want to know the man you are. And this is a poem about that man who died 3 years ago. Killing the scarecrow. The spring Dennis died, it was still propped beneath a pile of wooden garden stakes in a dark corner of the barn. How many years had it guarded his garden? A baseball cap stapled on a vinegar jug, a pair of Groucho glasses with fake mustache and big nose, plaid shirt, suspenders, and baggy trousers, arms wide on a crossbar and sagging on the pole. Every year, Dennis would add a clean shirt and bigger trousers to flesh it out. Maybe the crows would take note. 3 years in a row, they waited for the sprouts to get 4 inches tall. Then they'd strut down the rows, pull every last one up, and eat the swollen seed. Then did it again at his replanting. He gave up on corn. I hauled that useless mannequin out of its hidey hole and laid it down on the slope behind the barn. Man-size it was, filthy and ridiculous, stuffed with hay and wads of milkweed fluff, where the mice made a nest where the heart should be. I thought I'd just undress it, but there were so many layers. I had to get some scissors, then a serrated knife to cut the scarecrow off and bear the wooden cross. In the end, I was sweating and ripping it all to shreds. I felt mean and sad, tearing up with fury, sick with betrayal, wrenching its nose and glasses off, wadding it all up and cramming the whole stinking mess into the trash. Pieced green. Far away over the mountain, clouds run steely gray, as though this spring were pierced again by snow. Yellow trails into the willow's shawl, maroon into the maple. Crows cackle in the meadow, trading cruel jokes while we reseed the rows, slowly cultivating hope out of tattered green. Old enough now to know our dream of peace was only that. Once again, we must school our wanting, plow this resonating ache into a stubborn lean of will, work of hands, again, again, against the usual ruin. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Sign the book, and we will be here again on Tuesday, May 7th. Thank you very much.
Thank you.